approach, we were using a point-to-point approach. This is a common project-based approach. So whenever a team gets a project to build an web API, so it will have details stored in a different system. So in our case, our order data, what shopping we are doing, it is stored in a e-commerce system. So this is our e-commerce system. The inventory data is stored in SAP. The customer data is stored in SAP and Salesforce. So all this system is storing the data, and we have to develop a web API. So what we used to do is we used to just connect these resources. So we'll connect an SAP to Salesforce and to order status and order history, and we will reflect that on web API. So this approach was good, like it was quick, and we can see we will know the requirements and we can complete it within few days. Okay, but what was the drawback of this resource? What was the drawback of this approach actually, and why we needed MuleSoft? So suppose in today's changing world, we have both mobile API, mobile app, and the web app. So this system was built for a web app. And now if I want to see the same content of the web API, the flipkart.com, suppose in our case, will not be able to see in a mobile because it's a different API. And it was not built for a mobile phone previously. So in that case, what will happen? Again, we have to do the same process. Again, we have to connect to this SAP system, Salesforce system, and again, we have to build the same process. So it is more of time taking process. We are building the same thing again for a different application. So this is the drawback of this. The on time we'll get, yeah, but limited opportunity to reuse. We will not be able to reuse this because it is dedicatedly developed for this web API. Okay. Okay, next. So this is the approach which we followed. And after 6 months, if you see the web API is completed, and after 6 months, the business comes and asks that we have to develop a mobile API. So what we are doing, we are again doing all these things which we had already done. So it is total waste of time and effort that you have to build again the same thing which is already there. So that is how MuleSoft comes into picture, and it says we should reuse these resources. So yeah, it makes sense, right? We have this order status, order history, everything there. Why can't we reuse, and why can't we connect our mobile API to this? So that is why new approach came into picture, which is a API-led approach. So this is the API-led approach or API-led connectivity, where we define our resources in three ways. One is the system API, the other is the process API, and the experience API. So as the name suggests, experience API is what we as a user experience. So this is a web app and this is a mobile app. So instead of connecting this to only one system, we will just develop a system API. And we can leverage for any kind of API. Suppose today is mobile, tomorrow we will have some other interfaces where we need. So we can directly connect. We will not have to develop again this whole thing, right? So this is how API-led connectivity is helping us. And one more important thing what MuleSoft suggests is to segregate your system APIs, process APIs, and experience APIs. So this will help you in the long run. So whatever system data we have, like we have SAP, so it's a system, it is storing the data. So we make it as a system API. We don't expose this API directly to customers, right? We will have one more layer of process layer and an experience layer over the system layer. So anything which is containing data, any legacy system or the cloud system or SAP, we will store that in system APIs. So without exposing them to the real world. And then over the top, we will build in process API. So what process API is? So processes API is typically like we have one system API, SAP customers, and one is Salesforce customers, right? So to get both, like if you want some details from SAP customers and some details from Salesforce, we will develop an API which is called process APIs, customers API. And in this API, we will have details of the customers. So in future, if you want to talk to a system, we don't have to go back again to the SAP customers. We can directly talk from the customer's API. So in the picture, it is clearly seen that the web application and the mobile application is directly contacting the customer APIs and they're not contacting the system APIs. Okay. So like you have seen this all the APIs. So it can be a problem that we have so many APIs and who is going to took care of all this APIs, because as the organization grows, it will have many APIs. And suppose you have worked on this system API and you leave this project and a new person comes into your place, then he will not know about this, right? Because you have developed, you know everything. So he will not be knowing about this APIs, which is already there, and he will uh, take his effort and create this again. To help overcome that feature, we have a team called C4E. So every organization will have a team C4E, which is called Center for Enablement. So what does this team do? So this team aims to help the organization to take advantage of reuse and API development. So there's a team which will sit and it will monitor all the APIs which are already there, which are already built. And it will help the developers that, yeah, this API is there, you can take leverage of this APIs. So that is what it is saying. It's shorter development cycle, because if we have reuse API, it will be a shorter time. Reduce project cost and risk, fewer defects because it's already tested and we don't have to test it again. So yeah, higher quality, enhanced governance, and all this advantages we have in this. So so for today, I think we are all covered. One more section is left, which is quiz. So this quiz is taken from MuleSoft certification site. So typically, if you clear this quiz every day, you will be sorted for the certification. Okay, so let's go. We have, I think, 4 questions, and we'll just see. So the first question, what HTTP method in RESTful web services is typically used to completely replace an existing resource? So we'll see the options. So we'll start with get. So what get does? Get fetches the response. It does not replace the existing resource, right? So get is not the answer. We'll see patch. So patch, as I said, if there is something already present, then we can patch word, right? If something already present, then we can patch it. So again, it's asking completely replace. Now, this is an important keyword, that it should be completely replacing it. So the answer will be put. Why? Because if the flight number 1 is present in a database system and we want to add a flight number 2, so in that case, we will be adding a put resource of flight number 2. So the correct answer will be put. Coming to question number 2, what statement is parts of MuleSoft description of an application network? So we'll read the options. So to create reusable APIs and asset designed to be consumed by other business. So this looks quite okay, that we are creating reusable APIs, as C4E was there to make sure that we are using it and other business units. So this looks very okay to me, and I think this is answer. But we will look the other options also. So the second B states creates and manage high availability and fault tolerant. So this is not what the MuleSoft deprecation of application network is. Leverages central IT to developer deliver complete point-to-point solutions with master data management. So no, point-to-point was previous approach. MuleSoft has changed this approach. So this is also not the answer. The fourth one is creates and manages a collection of JMS messaging service and infrastructure. So this is also not what it is doing. So the correct answer is create reusable APIs and assets designed to be consumed by other business units. So this is the correct answer. Question number 3. According to MuleSoft, what is the center of enablement's role in the new IT operating model? So it is asking what is C4E doing in the new IT operating model. So as we've seen in our previous slides, what C4E is actually doing. It is taking advantage and use of API development. It is following the best standards. It reduces projects and everything. So we'll go back to our quiz and see what it is actually doing. So it produces and manages APIs policies for line of business developments. No, this is not correct. It does not produce or manages policies. It's not managing policies. Okay. Option B, implement line of business projects to enforce common security requirements. No, this it is doing, but not completely. It is asking what is the center of enablement's role. So this is partially correct, but not completely correct. Okay. So the third is centrally manages partners and consultants. So this is no, this is not correct. Option D, creates and manage discoverable assets to be consumed by line of business developers. So this is correct. It creates and manages discoverable assets. Asset means the APIs to be consumed by line business developer. So the answer D is correct to this question. So this is the last question of our session for today. So what MuleSoft API-led connectivity layer? If you remember, there were three connectivity layers: the system layer, the process layer, and the experience layer. These were the three layers which we studied about. So the question is, what MuleSoft API-led connectivity layer is intended to expose part of backend database without business logic? So it is asking expose part of backend database. So if you remember, what is our backend database? It can be SAP, Salesforce, database system, anything. So which layer it is using? Is it the system layer, the process layer, or experience layer? So to get the answer of this question, we'll go back to that slide which we saw. So we saw here the system layer, process, and experience. So this is the answer of this question. It is system layer because it is exposing the data without giving the backend logic, because we are able to fetch data from these systems, right? So that is why the answer to this question will be system layer. So these are all the answer keys. So this completes our day one session on MuleSoft, and we completed all the hands-on. We went back onto the Make My Trip application, and we saw how the resource is working, how query parameter is working. We interacted with multiple APIs. We created one application. So this is what we covered in day one. In day two, we'll increase our expertise in more of depth of knowledge, like we'll interact with APIs, we'll create more applications and things. So you will get all these slides, and you'll get the recording of this session also available. So we have last 5 minutes, so I'll give it to you. If you have any question, you can ask, feel free to ask.
Kumar, this is Ram.
Hey, yeah.
I learned about Oracle Integration Cloud.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what is the significant difference between the MuleSoft and the OIC platform? Is it going to be same like integrating multiple applications, or in what way it differs?
Okay. So yeah, it is quite the same. Like MuleSoft also integrates all the application, but it is following a different approach totally. So we can see that in the coming features, like how it is different from OIC and how it's different from TIPCO. So many organizations are doing. Google is also doing an APG where it is trying to integrate all the solutions and all the different applications. So MuleSoft is right now very hot and a good place to get the integrations done, as it is backed by Salesforce, and Salesforce is present everywhere. So that is what MuleSoft is doing in a better way.
Does it have its own database? Like we have Oracle in OIC side, right? So
No. So MuleSoft is only to connect to systems. It does not have its own database as of now.
okay, so when you say development can be done through MuleSoft, what kind of development if it is not able to connect to any database?
So I didn't say that it doesn't, it will not be able to connect to a database. It does not have its own database. So we can connect to any database, be it Oracle, MySQL, NoSQL. We can connect to any system. We can connect to databases. We can connect to Salesforce. We can even connect to AWS S3 bucket. So all these things are possible. If you go to Exchange, MuleSoft Exchange, there will be n number of connectors already present.
Okay.
So, and it is growing day by day. MuleSoft is providing us different connectors. So right now, like Amazon S3 is the biggest place to store things for websites and all the things. So it has already Amazon S3 connector and everything.
And is it possible for me to connect my on-prem database? Suppose I'm having a different application running on Oracle database, for
Mhm.
example. Is it possible for me to connect to the database and get the data or do whatever?
Yes, yes, definitely it is possible. So MuleSoft has already made the popular connectors, which we will be using on day to day. But there will be situations where you will be needing to connect for a custom connector. So if you are trying to get data from your on-prem, you can define your own custom connector, and it can be HTTP based or SOAP based, and you can fetch the data from that.
Okay. So, and is it possible to develop some kind of web form? Like, I'm still comparing with OIC. The reason being is I know what is the capability of OIC,
Right,
right? I
right.
mean, Integration Cloud, where we have a system called VBCS, where we can develop web forms, which can get the data from the database, store it back to the database. All those things can be done.
Mhm.
And we also have process control, which helps us to set up an approval mechanism, right?
Okay.
So is it possible to do such a kind of thing in MuleSoft?
Exactly what are you looking for? Like you want to develop a web console, or like I didn't
Yeah.
get the question
See,
exactly.
for example,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to build an employee form,
Okay.
employee details to be entered on the web form, right? Where I will have employee number, date of birth, all those blah 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 stuff, right? And eventually I will have a save button, and when I save it, it
Mhm.
will get saved in the database. It's typical any web application, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
not
that is
just search.
correct. That is quite possible. Yeah, it is a basic feature, and it is possible that whenever you go to any web API, you give your details, it will be stored to your database. So that can be achieved by MuleSoft.
No, I'm asking about the form.
So form, like I'm not very sure on that. Maybe in
See,
the
for
coming
example,
sessions. Yeah.
you open up some application and you want to create
Mhm.
some user, for example, right? Even if you take a Salesforce,
Yeah.
when you create a user, it asks you set of information about the user in the
Right.
small text boxes saying that name, first name, last name, all those things. I'm talking about that kind of thing where it is possible to be developed with the MuleSoft.
So I am not able to understand your question completely. But I'll try to answer. Like, so it does not work like a web application. It just provides you solution to connect. So if you have a web
Yeah.
application to a database, so it will allow you to connect from that web application to that database. So it will provide that connectivity, but it will not allow you to store a data on MuleSoft.
Okay. On your example in the
Mhm.
screenshots where you have system API, process API, all those things, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, when you access that from your mobile phone or
Mhm.
web server, you need to be showing the data on certain form, right?
Right,
You,
right.
you cannot just like that throw a JSON file onto the screen, right? It
Correct,
needs to
correct.
be
Mhm.
formatted and showing it on to a proper formatted way, right? So
Yeah.
I'm asking about that kind of thing is possible, or do we have to use a different web UI and then internally you call the Mule engine to get the data and then show it? I'm just trying to understand how that works in that
Yeah, that is
perspective.
possible. So it depends on the website, what kind of data it is requiring in which format. So we have different kind of format supported in MuleSoft, and we can do that.
Okay. So the MuleSoft can be used only for integrating multiple applications, not more than that.
Exactly. That is what is.
Okay.
So any further questions? We have 2 more minutes.
I think I'm okay. And I will ask more questions tomorrow if I.
Yeah, definitely, Ram. This will help us more be interactive and learn more. Okay, guys. So I think we are done for the session. If you want to contact or register yourselves for the upcoming sessions, you can just contact unogeeks.com or this phone number which is showed above. Thank you for attending this session. Hope to see you tomorrow.